Well, welcome to Smart Impressions. I'm Rachel. And if you have ever thought of something incredible in your wildest dreams, you want to make that imagination a reality, then this show is for you. Welcome to From Vision to Reality, where we're talking about power partnerships when it comes to Asia manufacturing. And with me today, Gary Young, who's the CEO and founder of Avella Global. Thank you for joining.
Rachel, thank you so much. It's really great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity, and we're going to have a fun conversation.
Absolutely, because you are the man who's making people's dreams and imagination come to reality. And so I really want to explore that because, it's not so easy when you look into other markets looking for suppliers to work and build something that has never been produced before, right?
Yeah, we do two things. Basically, we do product sourcing, which means we'll go find that right fit factory for our clients, and we do the in-house quality control, and we do, oversee production, and then we do the logistics, and we put the product on your loading dock, and then we do a lot of product development. So we'll take something from a napkin sketch and we'll make it real, all the way through the process of drawings and prototypes and golden samples, and then right down to the production, to the logistics, and put it on your loading dock. So we do it both ways.
There's a lot of different components to that. There's no doubt. So I want to start with just kind of the foundation because I want to understand from you who've been doing this for decades, like why is local knowledge so important? And it's really a game changer. What do you think when it comes to doing production and basically scaling any kind of, manufacturing?
Well, I mean, it's all about trying to save costs by manufacturing overseas, but mitigating risk. So you need to mitigate risk. You need feet on the ground, and so I have offices in Shanghai, Ho Chi Minh City, Phnom Penh, Mumbai, and a new sales office, as you know, in Dubai. And when you have feet on the ground, you can react at the speed of business. So that's the most important thing. I say to my people, look, we need to respond because minutes can mean hours, hours can mean days, and days can mean weeks. And a lot of my clients, they have Black Friday and Cyber Monday deadlines, and if we miss that deadline, well, we're in real trouble. But that can happen because Murphy's Law reigns supreme in my world.
Yeah, it will happen, right? There's no doubt. But I want to talk a little bit more about when you talk to your average client, what are kind of I can imagine that a lot of entrepreneurs that may have think that they could do it themselves, right? So what are these conversations looking like, when you start seeing a paper napkin with someone's design? How are you helping them?
Well, a lot of our clients start out doing this themselves, and then they reach this sort of boiling point or frustration. And then they say, look, we need help. And then they find us, and then we take it from there. Sometimes we'll work with the people that they've discovered, or we'll say, no, we need to find new people, new manufacturers, even perhaps a different country, to get your goals and stuff and to get your product made. So it's all about trying to make something that's can be very volatile, stable. And again, that goes back to feet on the ground. So these clients that go do it themselves, they'll run into cultural problems. They'll run into, the holidays that they didn't anticipate. And they really don't know because they're not there, to read the room and to look for the red flags. I mean, I don't even do that. I leave that up to my people, in these countries because, they can see below the surface and, they can, sort of ferret out where the issues might be. And then you have those upfront conversations and you work through it so that the expectations on both ends are met perfectly.
Well, I really want to kind of rip this open. This is just where I want to invite anyone that's listening. If you have a product or you've built a product and you have been in the market where you've had to outsource it in another country, jump into the conversation, ask Gary some questions. I want to hear about the pains that you experienced when you were trying to develop something with an outside perspective, especially on this global scale, right? So Gary, you mentioned not having feet on the ground obviously is going to miss a number of things, including like a massive time opportunity, right? Because that timing is everything when these production things, from a scheduling to the local customs to the culture. What other things are you running across where, having partnerships really help mitigate these problems?
Well, they say the devil is in the details. And I tell people this. I say, on my gravestone, I'm going to put, because I'm a production guy, right? And we don't do, we consult, but that's not our business. We make things we make things real. And on my gravestone, it's going to read, when 90% of the work is, when 90% of the project is finished, 50% of the work is still, needs to be done. And
Right.
that's the, I mean, I just can't tell you how true that is. And then, as we get it deeper and deeper into these projects with the clients, they appreciate our value proposition more and more and more. They know they needed help. And then, at the end of a project, they're saying, oh my God, could never have done this without you, because there are just so many things. Like I said, Murphy's Law, so many things can go wrong. We just produced this great product for a client that took a year and a half of development, because the client has the idea, but it's like, well, make it this shape and it needs to do this and it needs to be really powerful, but there's no engineering behind it. So we have to go get those resources and bring those to bear and help that client bring that vision to reality. So that's something we do in product development. Or, we had another client who needed to erect a cricket stadium in New York State for an international cricket match. I guess that was a year ago. They needed $2 million worth of scaffolding that we got out of India, but the scaffolding needed all kinds of custom work to create the stadium look to it. And then, of course, we only had a real short deadline. And this client does do stuff like this on their own. But they were up against the wall. They couldn't make it happen in the deadline that they had. So we came through and we saved the day, and ran into a little trouble with the Houthis on the Red Sea. And so we had to ship around the Horn of Africa. And so we had to completely redo our whole logistics scheme to make all that happen. And so that's just, you just never know in my world what could happen. We just, whether it's tariffs or whether it's, global conflict, we're pretty good, or even COVID for that matter. We're pretty good at solving those kinds of issues and staying, ahead of the wave on that.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, there needs to be a global awareness, right, of other markets, and you're really specializing in a number of markets where people can really reduce a huge amount of cost by developing it overseas, right?
Yeah, it's cost, but it's time, and
Well, money.
compress. Yeah, that's right. Compressing the time is really, really valuable, and that's one of the things we do really, really well, because we've been doing this for 24 years now, and so, you don't stay in this business that long if you don't know what you're doing and you haven't practically seen it all. So, we do a variety of different kinds of projects, anything in metal fabrication, anything in plastics, anything in what I call light electronics. We're not making NVIDIA boards or anything like that, but just, stuff you would find in appliances and things like that. We do a lot of cut and sew things, especially out of Cambodia and India, and, in garments and things like that. So it's a wide variety of experience that we have. And we bring all of that to bear, and we cross train, and then the offices in different parts of the world, they talk to each other and they help each other out. So we just have this really nice synergetic kind of situation that benefits the clients.
Interesting. I'm just thinking about all this perplexity that can encounter trying to create something overseas, from the product development to even the logistics, and especially when things need, let's say you get a product in the market and it's producing, like producing revenue where people want it, right? And exactly like the time it takes to actually produce something, right? So I'm sure from a negotiation level, having that expertise and those relationships gives a huge advantage to getting some of these timelines met and so forth, especially with the time zone. So depending on where you are and how you can mitigate, these kind of conversations probably come up a lot, right?
Yeah, it's standard fare. Everything you just said is just part of what we work with. But, what's really fun about our work is when something can go viral and gets big. And then, we're needed even more, because now we have this anticipation of a certain level of sales that we're going to require, and then we have to scale, and
Mm.
that's a whole other problem. But it's a good problem to have, and so we're there on the ground, scaling these projects once they get to a certain level. And I have several clients that have started with one or two containers in a year, and then we're at this point we're doing 25, 50, 100 containers after a couple years, and we just continue to scale. And when we do scale, we don't put all our eggs in one basket. We I used to say once you become successful, you need more than one factory, but now I say you need more than one country. So that's the advantage of working with us and within our system.
Wow, that really resonates because you have the hold of the a region that's able to produce, and so you need more than one country, and that really makes
Yeah.
sense. Now, this is a short. We do this in a quick New York minute and 15 minutes, where we just really give the little teasers to the audience, and that's why I say, please, if you got questions, jump on. Gary's the expert. He's going to answer those questions about whatever you have in your mind that you need to manufacture, or even any problem solving that you need to do. But Gary, to wrap this conversation up, I'd love for you to share with our audience, really the from founders to innovators to entrepreneurs, what 3 tips do you have for prioritizing when finding and working with the right manufacturing partners that they need to always stick to, right? Non-negotiables, so they don't run into problems that are bound to happen.
Well,
What do you have?
it's all about awareness. So, I guess the first thing would be understand that you have to consider delivery, price, and quality. You can have two of the three, but you can't have all three. And so you should keep that in mind as you're trying to figure out, make your decisions on whether you're doing this by yourself or you're going to get help from someone like us. You have to figure out, what that is, and that's part of the algorithm, if you will, for choosing the right factory. Is that you have to consider delivery, price, and quality, and make those adjustments accordingly. If you want something that's extremely high quality, well, you're not going to get an extremely low price. Or if you want price and quality, we may be working with a smaller factory, and you won't get delivery. So that's an important thing. That would be the first thing. The second thing is cash flow. If you're going to work overseas, they're going to demand 30% upfront before the project starts and 70% before it delivers. And then maybe after 2 or 3 containers, we can negotiate better terms. But you have to have that money up front. You need to be that liquid in order to work overseas, because the typical factory is going to, their margin is going to be anywhere from 8 to 12%. So that 30% up front allows them to start work. They're not making money at that point. They're the one taking the risk, not you. So you have to have that sort of cash flow. And I think the last one would be negotiate win-win situations to minimize your risk. So many people go into China or into Vietnam or other places, and they push too hard. They're trying to get that cheap deal, and they're trying to use as much leverage as they can. And especially in Asia, they don't like to say no. They say no problem, no problem. And whenever you hear that, that's a problem. That's not a yes. And so you'll get your first container, and it's going to be perfect, and you're going to love it, and you're going to be a genius, and everything's fine. And then back on the Asia side, they're thinking, wow, we didn't make money. Now we have to start figuring out ways to make things cheaper. So they start looking for alternate suppliers and taking shortcuts so they can make money. And then all of a sudden there's a disappointment with that second or third container. If you negotiate properly, if you negotiate a win-win, you have that conversation and you minimize your risk. How's that?
I like it. We got 3 great tips. It's about how you prioritize what you need, whether it's quality, or the other 2 that you mentioned. It's all about, God, really mitigating those risks from a win-win and really looking at it from a whole holistic standpoint so that you can really get this product that you desire. And I stress so much of working with experts like Avella to ensure deliverables timelines can be met and that you don't waste money, time, resources, doing the wrong thing. So Gary, I know the Dubai market is the next market for you to attack and really, dominate. So I kind of want to talk about that for a second. What is actually your plan here, and what are you planning in the region?
Yeah, well, we're going to do a big launch event in either late February or early March, and it's there's a lot of details involved in that. And we should have another talk about that next year, so
Cool.
we can go into that with detail. But it's going to be something where we're kind of displaying our partnerships and on a network that we've been developing over the last year, and at the same time, it's something for the community. So we're trying to make this really the synergistic event that should launch us and carry the partners we've been developing with us, to another level. So I'm excited about that. But the one thing I did want to say before I tuned off or signed off, I should say, is that I had this one piece of advice I got from a business coach 25 years ago that I always tell my clients. He said, if you want to be successful and happy, figure out what you do best, do those things, and get other people to do the other things. And that's advice I live by every single day. And we're those people that do those other things.
No doubt. I love that one because you are creating and making dreams a reality because the
Yep.
dreamer may not be the one to execute that production. There's no doubt, and you are. So, Gary, it is a pleasure to have you on the show today. So, thank you so much for joining, sharing these tips. It's a lot of decades of expertise and advice, and I look forward to seeing what's happening in Dubai. I know that anyone that's creating a product, a manufacturing, or thinking about it and need some advice, to definitely get in touch. Who is the point of contact here in the region that you recommend they get in touch with?
Yeah, we have our salesperson, Zupar. She's there in Dubai full time, and you would get in contact with her, and her email address is like that long. So I
We'll
think you
add
can
it.
put that down below, and that would be great.
We'll add it so that everyone has a point of contact because this is just growing. The UAE and the GCC in general are just bringing every entrepreneur that's full of ideas into the region so that they can build the next unicorn here. So it's going to happen. There's no doubt. And it's nice to see that Bella is here to support them when it started from the infancy stage, right, into full grown, success. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to know that we now have a partner for the Asian market when it comes to manufacturing any product that you could imagine.
Well, Rachel, again, thank you, and I think it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's all I care about. It's all about finding joy in things you do. This show is proudly sponsored by the Biz Angels. They are your outsourced lead generators at events, trade shows in the GCC. So get in touch if you're interested to find out more about that. In the meantime, I invite you to connect with Gary on LinkedIn, on all these platforms, and really get the information you need from the experts we bring to Smart Impressions every single show we have. Thanks again. I wish you lots of luck and great sales success. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye bye.